Hi, my name is Ben. I have a couple fantasy book reviews today. One is The Stone of Tears by Terry Goodkind. It's the second book following Wizard's First Rule in the Sword of Truth series. And the other one is actually 3 books, so I'm actually getting several, which is a combination of 3 books, The Black Company, The Shadows Linger, and The White Rose by Glen, which are kind of the first trilogy in the Black Chronicles. It's a tale about a mercenary band. Okay, so Stone of Tears, in a lot of respects, is not a better book than Wizard's First Rule. But in a lot of respects, I actually like this book better. And I think the reason I like it better is because I actually think the character development is good, if not better, than the first book. What with Richard, Glen, and the Sisters of Light. And also I really liked the settings. Richard's journey across the plains into the old world, crossing the wizard's towers of perdition, and going to the Palace of Prophets on the island of Hallsbard as a Bard, whatever. And also you get to see Glen's hometown of Adendril. Adendril was not as good as I had hoped. After all kind of the build-up in the first book of, the spiring towers and everything like that, I think you could have used a little more description. But the Wizard's Keep in Glen's hometown I thought was mysterious, and they did an okay job of making it look sinister and a place of power. And so you kind of got the idea that it's a place with a lot of magic and potential. It was mysterious. Obviously the description wasn't very in-depth, but that adds a degree of mystery to it. A couple things that I think that make this a worse book as far as writing style is when he chose to do kind of the upper conflict. He chose kind of a Sauron character from Tolkien, where you have like a big evil guy that's never really seen. All you see is him working through the minions, and what his goal is to destroy all life. Why? You have no idea. There's no motivation behind him destroying all life. It's complete mystery, but he does. And I thought that was pretty weak. As far as the minions' ambitions for why they're following this character, they want to gain a promise of immortality because they are basically afraid of death, those kind of things. They want more power. I thought, that was like explainable as far as the minions working for the Overlord, but as far as like the Keeper of the Underworld, I thought it was pretty much weak compared to like the first book that I thought actually had kind of a moral basis on underlying the sense of revenge, vengeance, and right and wrong, and that kind of thing. Another thing that this book chooses to do is it separates its characters by settings. In other words, the world is a big place and the characters go different places, and so the settings are really nice, but it means that big entire sections you'll only be with a character set. And this means that if you have a favorite character, you might be left out to dry for 200, 300 pages. And it also inspires the whole favorite character kind of syndrome. In other words, like if you're with one person, you're going to go attached to that character. And seeing how as the series continues and the way it continues, I think this is a mistake. In other words, it actually needed to diversify a little bit more as far as the series goes. So I didn't really appreciate that. And my final kind of criticism is that one of the characters engaging in battles, the battles I thought were pretty good as far as writing goes, and kind of like the suspense and the uniqueness of each conflict and skirmish within the battle I thought was actually fairly good. It's pretty interesting. But in each kind of skirmish, the main character in that character set faces certain death, kind of like a place where like they're going to be endangered, and magically comes through, and so after the 5th or 6th time you're thinking, well, it's a little bit redundant. I mean, how many times is this character going to escape death, in one book? So but that's something that you don't necessarily see the first read through. I've read this book several times. This is something that's bothered me now that I've read it a couple times, is that this character escaped death so many times. The writing is pretty much similar to Wizard's First Rule. It's a little less tight, which is why it's like 900 and something pages long. This is also not a standalone book. You're going to have to read the next book to kind of get the end of this particular setting with what happens with the sisters. And even that doesn't really end in the next book. In other words, this is really the start of the series, even more so than Wizard's First Rule. So it's book long, and you're keeping on. This book is long, and you're going to have to keep on reading. I think that's pretty much about it on that one.